Alright guys, getting ready to shoot a video that's a long ways overdue. I've changed out some wires on my GoPro, so I'm hoping I've got the problem fixed. Alright guys, welcome back to T-Bone, Rolling with T-Bone. If I have audio trouble out of this video, guys, I'll either try to voice it over or re-record it or something. But like I said during the opening, this video is kind of overdue. Of course, my last video, you guys know what was going on. Know that there was health issues, so really I didn't have the ability to make this video, but going to try to get it shot now, guys. Get it shot this time. I wanted to do this video the day actually that Harley-Davidson released their 2022 lineup. I watched their release video, which is something I've never done before, maybe like only once or twice. I watched Harley-Davidson's release video of their models that they're releasing for 2022, and I got to tell you guys, there was a couple of things that they're releasing that actually caught my attention. And of course, the Pan Americas came back this year. The new Sportster S is here. The Sportster S released last year or the year before. I think it was last year. It's not going to go nowhere. Harley rarely ever gets rid of a new model just a couple of years in production. And they have placed a lot on this Sportster S, just like they did their electric bike, the Livewire. Livewire is coming back again for 2022. The bike that let me you can tell I'm out of practice, guys. My name's T-Bone. If you're new here, welcome in. My name's T-Bone. I make motorcycle related content, any kind of content really. If you're new, welcome in. If you're old, welcome back. But now getting back to the 2022 lineup of Harley-Davidson, guys. For 22, Harley-Davidson did several cool things. First being the Lowrider S. Now, Harley-Davidson is on top of the world right now with their Lowrider S. Since that bike has been debuted, Harley has been putting a lot into the Lowrider S platform. But this year, guys, they released for 22 a Lowrider ST Touring. This bike, guys, is a throwback. I'll try to put some pictures up in this video during editing if I get a chance. But the Lowrider ST, I believe, is going to be something that Harley expands on over the coming years. And it's a throwback to the 1984 Fxrt, which it's kind of trippy to watch how this all happened, because back in the 80s when Harley-Davidson released that Fxrt, that touring bike with the smaller bags, of course at that time they had the Tour Glide platform, they had the Ultra Classic platform, but they released the Fxrt simply as a smaller touring bike. And I'll tell you something, guys, they met with a thud. Back in the 80s when they released those bikes, people were ripping those fairings off, taking those bags off, taking all that hardware off, slamming them to the ground, and actually making some cool looking bikes out of the Fxr. But 22, they swung back around. They decided to go ahead and just adapt the Lowrider S frame that they already had, raised it up, raised the bags up higher, and essentially what they done was they followed a trend that was already happening in the motorcycle world. And that trend was people were taking dynos like my Dyna Super Glide. They were taking those dynos. Some were doing it with Sportsters, 1200 Sportsters. They were finding those old FXR fairings and them old FXR bags, put crazy paint schemes on them, and essentially becoming a Dyna Bro is what we call a Dyna Bro. They were making Dyna specials, drift bikes, just cruising bikes. They were raising them up off the ground, putting the big tall T-bars on them. Harley Davidson started seeing those bikes pop up at different bike shows, and essentially they said, hey, this is a platform we already had years ago. It's coming around now to maybe where people will appreciate the touring platform that we're trying to do on a smaller framed bike, and they reintroduced it. I was not a fan of the original FXRT. I wasn't a fan of the FXR period, and the reason why, the FXR was a taller bike, it set up higher, it had a bigger frame, and for a shorter person like me, which I'm 5'11", but I'm tall in the torso and not in the legs, so I could ride the FXR with no problem, but it just always felt awkward to me to ride the bike because it just set up too high. Kind of like a Gold Wing that had been set up too tall, like somebody had just completely filled the air shocks up on the front and the back and just raised it up to unneeded heights for highway riding. But I tell you what, guys, this Lowrider ST, I think this model is gonna set a new standard, and I think it's gonna be around for a while. I really do. Now, of course, nobody from Harley Davidson's giving me anything to say all this. Harley Davidson doesn't even know I exist. But you know, I'm riding around on this fat boy, and that was another video that I am going to try to do. I've been planning that video, but of course things never worked out for me this winter, so I could go and shoot that video. The video that I'm talking about that I wanted to shoot was the new 114 Fat Boy. Now, Fat Boy, I have read the forums. When I was sick, can't remember how to talk either. When I was sick, I did a lot of reading about the new Fat Boy in particular. Owning a Fat Boy, I wanted to know what people were thinking about the new Fat Boy. There is no middle ground when it comes to the new Fat Boy. There is not one person that is on the fence with this motorcycle. They either love it or they absolutely hate it. And usually what I was reading, it was the older school bikers from the 80s and 90s. And I even read a forum where one guy pointed out the Fat Boy was introduced in 1990. This was a straight Willie G build, design, everything. Willie G was the one who introduced the Fat Boy to the world. Now, of course, mine's a 2003. 1990 was the year that the Fat Boy was introduced to the entire world on a soft tail frame, bigger front end, wider tire, nicer, wider tank. And like I said, this was a straight Willie G production. This comes straight out of Willie G's front cranium. I'm gonna tell you what, guys, I'm gonna get out behind this black truck. This dude's only running about 25 in a 45 zone, but not that I'm in a rush, but excuse me, guys, I don't like to get behind guys like that who are just on the brake, off the brake, on the brake, off the brake. But anyway, from what I read about the new Fat Boy, they either love it or they absolutely hate it. I'm going to reserve my judgment because I've seen it. I've been following a couple of Harley family and a couple of other Instagram pages, and People have already started tricking these fat boys out, putting a ton of aftermarket stuff on them, wide rear tires, slamming them down. Great looking bike. But I really wanted to reserve my judgment on these bikes. I am planning maybe sometime in late spring. I want to get a bunch of guys together.Maybe if you want to go with me, drop down comment, say I'm in. But I want to go to Chattanooga, just take a day, leave in the morning, just ride down to White Lightning in Chattanooga. I really want to look at the Fat Boy and the Lowrider S, and if they've got one, the Lowrider ST. I'd really like to see these bikes up close, maybe get a demo ride on one, which is something I've never done. I've never went to a motorcycle dealership for a demo ride, but I really want to check out this new Fat Boy, and I really want to check out this FST, this Lowrider T, this Lowrider touring bike, the ST model. I really think, guys, I really think that it's gonna come along, because when the Lowrider S, I think you'll have to check the date on this. I think the Lowrider S was redesigned, or this model was introduced. It was either in 2017 or 2018, and I read a bunch of forums on the Lowrider, and guys, people are loving this new Lowrider S. And of course, they're going to love this new Sportster S too, the new S model. And of course, what was replaced off of that, they did away with a couple of models of bikes that have been around, like the 1200 iron. They discontinued that model. They discontinued a couple of other ones, but the 1200 iron was the one that kind of stuck out to me, because that was a good looking bike. But of course, they're going to keep making the 883 iron, which, when I think iron, I think 883 anyway, because the 883, if I'm not mistaken, I may be wrong, but I think the 883 in the mid-2000s, 2008, 9, 10, were all irons. I think the 883 iron was introduced, or the iron concept was introduced through the 883 is what I'm trying to say. But, I mean, Harley's got a lot to hang their hat on now. Of course, the Pan America has really, really been getting a lot of steam. Guys are going out and riding them in the Mojave Desert. Over on YouTube, check out Shade Tree Surgeon. Him and Queen Sit and her two wheels and Doodle on a motorcycle. Those guys and gals all got invited to go out to the Mojave Desert, California, and they give them a whole weekend to ride the Pan Americas out in the desert. They give them a training course. They give them a kind of like a school for riding an adventure bike, which the Pan America, at first glance, you think it's just a straight adventure bike, but I know I follow some guys who have got them and ridden them out on the street, and they're like, hey, they're plenty of power for out on the road. They ride smoother than you think they would, being higher up adventure bikes. So the Pan America isn't going nowhere. The Lowrider S isn't going to go nowhere, and I predict now that the Lowrider ST isn't going to go anywhere. Now, the Road Glide and the Street Glide got kind of revamped a little bit for 2022. The Road Glide, of course, isn't going to go anywhere, and the reason why is because the Road Glide seems to be the dream bike now that everybody wants. Not me. I got rid of the Midnight Express, the Tour Glide. I think I'm kind of out of the big bikes for a while. I like the smaller, easier to handle bikes that are lighter. But the Road Glide kind of got revamped, and I'll tell you, the lineup that really caught my attention, guys, was the new CVO lineup for 22. They have a new CVO Road Glide, a CVO Tri-Glide, Street Glide. Guys, you really are to check out this video. It's Harley Davidson's 2022 lineup video. That CVO lineup, they have some beautiful paint schemes on those bikes. They have all the gizmos and gadgets that you could ever want to, have on a motorcycle. Why you would need all that, I don't know, but you got it if you do. And a lot of people look for that. They look for that straight convenience, which I'm an old school biker. I'm not a, I'm not a 20-something-year-old guy or 30-something-year-old guy who's never been on a motorcycle. I'm old school. And it's cool to have all that stuff, I guess. But for me personally, 2 wheels, a set of handlebars, and a comfortable seat's really all I need my motorcycle to do for me. But the CBO lineup, the Lowrider S and the Lowrider ST models, of course the Sportster S is making a lot of noise. I don't think that new Sportster S is going to go nowhere. I think Harley has introduced a new type of Sportster that's just going to keep the Sportster name going. But of course they still have your standard Sportsters, the 1200s and 883s. Like I said, the only model that I noticed that they got rid of was the 1200 Iron, and I'm assuming that's just because of poor sales. But if you want just a regular Sportster and you don't want the new S, Harley Davidson still has them Sportsters for sale. They're not going to go nowhere. But guys, I'm trying to get back into my regular routine of shooting content. Just, if you watched the last video, you know I just had a ton of sickness, a lot of stuff going on. I was having a real hard time there for about a month. I was still trying to work, trying to fight COVID, just not having no energy, not feeling good. But I'm trying to get back into my regular routine. But I want to go ahead and cut this video short. Remember to like, comment, and share, guys. If you want to get in on the spring ride, it'll probably be on a Saturday. Take off one Saturday morning, probably sometime in April, maybe May. I'll just have to wait and see how my schedule at work plays out. But I'm going to take a day and just go down to White Lightning, kind of hang out, maybe shoot that content down there, checking out those bikes, because I really want to see this Lowrider ST and the S up close and personal. And I even want to see the Sportster S up personal. I never saw one up close and personal. But I want to check those out. So, tell you what, guys, go ahead and like, comment, share. Find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. All Rolling with T-Bone. Rolling W T-Bone. And don't forget to comment, guys. Like, share. Thank y'all for all the support. Welcome and be back. And tell you what, guys, until the next time, this has been Rolling with T-Bone. You guys take care of yourself and each other.